street, and if they weren't 7 feet tall, nobody would know they were special. NFL players are stars, man, like stars. And like that's a whole, like, so they're looking for the power that they see in other leagues. And they're starting to get some of it. You only think this is as bad as it can get with Myles Garrett personally. It's not. You realize there is a situation that could happen that actually makes all of this way worse than it is this morning. Yeah, I'm going to rain on the parade a little bit more next on Rock 106.9.
The Stansberry Show.
I like his energy. He doesn't have any.
On Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the Stansberry Show, where we have been discussing the departure of Myles Garrett, the man requesting a trade publicly yesterday, which hurts what you can get back in compensation, which is why I didn't necessarily love that. I have no issue with Myles trying to get out. All right, everybody seems to understand, it's like, dude, he's great, and you got to let him go, and this and that. And I totally get it. Like, look, I can be a little self-deprecating about what it's like working in radio in 2025, right? And like sometimes I'll get a little, hyperbolic about how bad the situation can be. Let me just say, once upon a time I was in a station I really wanted to get at, and I really, who felt like my Cleveland Brown. Ironically, that station was going very good. Yeah. I would call Nate.
Welcome to McDonald's. Will you be using your mobile app today?
Whatever it took. Across thumbtacks.
No.
Order whenever you're ready.
Versus ever having. So I get it, right? It seems like most people seem to understand. I didn't necessarily love the public. Like I said, it kind of cuts the legs out from underneath the ability to get back to you.
Can I get
the conversation I think you're worth? And of course, as a fan, I do need to care about it. I said I believe what's happened here is that they told him they didn't think any of
biscuits with cheese,
or that they were going to trade out of the picket too.
No, change that. 2 sausage burritos.
Veteran here, get ready. It might be Cousins.
Do you like mild or hot
It might
sauce?
be. There's a few other names
none.
out there. You know, you can do something like that, and he went, all right, I'm
a hash brown.
Like, I've seen the league.
That'll be
you
it.
need to be dynamic at that position.
Did you want the
If
meal
there's
to
at
get a
least
drink with it?
chance in
No,
Shador,
no, thank you.
Okay.
You got to maybe try it.
All right, it's 5:68.
And
Do
so
you
I
want to
said,
round
I
up
think
today
he's
for Ronald
unhappy.
McDonald?
Now Hunter's listening.
No.
He's like, wait a minute. He's
Go ahead,
like,
pull the
I
rim.
like the idea. I think you're dead wrong on the scenario. All right, well, walk me through that. He said, Myles knows football. He's like, I think he's the one that won. You don't want one of these. And the Browns, the leadership is desperate, and they're looking at either one of these quarterbacks, pretty much Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, kind of in that bill, right? And they think they're getting something that they're not because they have the hope and the desperation on them. And so he's like, I got to get out of here. Now, here's what's crazy. Because of the way the quarterback class is talked about right now, which is kind of like, some people think Shador's going to be the next, Peyton Manning. Other people are like, he's doing really good. It's a little ho-hum. There's no denying. It is a little ho-hum, right? That either one of those scenarios could be true. On who thinks what about the quarterback class and the draft and what you do with the pick. I think it's, can Hunter and I, can you and I meet here that I believe what has happened here is a fundamental disagreement on what the future should be with this number 2 pick and how transformational that pick can be for a team in a draft moving forward. I think there's a rift there inside that. I think it's a huge part of it. I think Saquon Barkley is making Myles Garrett feel a sense of urgency. I think Joe Thomas does this too. We talk about Joe Thomas like he's great. NFL fans don't. This is my argument. Wait a couple of years after you're done doing the thing and you're no longer the guy. If Joe Thomas didn't have the broadcasting outside of Cleveland, nobody would talk about it. And that's not, I'm not celebrating that. That sucks. We talked about that when that guitarist from Whitesnake and Thin Lizzy died, John Sykes. Like, that sucks, dude, that people don't care. You know what I mean? It's just that that's not a good thing about life, but it is a reality. If he wins one, he's immortalized forever. In a different level. And once you have the money and once you've had packed stadiums cheering your name and you've sold the jerseys, I do think it matters. Because that stuff's for you then. And it is your life and it is your career. some stuff is going to be for you, and I do think it matters. I could be wrong. Well, where does he go? So here's the... Any damn place he pleases. So who wants him? You think everybody... Yes, ideally, I don't think everybody's going to be viewing him worth the compensation at that point for where their franchise is. It's not whether or not you're worth the compensation. It's, are you worth it in the moment? I'm looking at my ownership like, look, dude, you just went and got me an offensive coach. I know it. But get me Myles Garrett chasing their quarterback around, and let me tell you, I think we have a chance to be pretty good. I think we have a chance to be pretty good. I think the Bears could be interesting. I think the Green Bay Packers could be really interesting for Myles. I also think the Browns, who have to deal him, are going to want to look at NFC teams. There's an elephant in the room, you know. And it's this. That it's more likely it's not a team who's ready to win a Super Bowl next year trades for him. It's a team who's ready to win one 2 years from now if they trade for a guy like Myles Garrett. And you know who that is, don't you? Well, it might just be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Baker Mayfield reunite in Tampa. People talk about what happens if we win a Super Bowl in Cleveland, like what happens to downtown, and believe me, every nightmare scenario you're told will happen, and then some. If that Super Bowl gets won, and those cannons are going off on the side of that goddamn boat, and let me just tell you, I think the scene downtown is worse for that. That is the ultimate nightmare scenario. Now, there were rumors, and you haven't heard a lot about it since he left, so maybe they were just rumors, but there were rumors that what happened in the locker room partially with Baker was Myles kind of looked around, wanted to be the guy, and was like, dude, get the kid out of here, right? Like, there were rumors that were it. People like to talk about stuff. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody who could tell me that it's like, dude, that's kind of what happened. Is it a believable thing because of ego and men and young and money and this and that? Sure. We don't know it. I would think you would have heard more about it since they have parted ways, and you haven't really a whole lot. I've mentioned it because there are going to be people who think there's zero chance that they find themselves on the same roster again. Because there are people who literally believe that that's the rifting, that that's what happened. The team chose Myles, essentially. Which a couple of years ago doesn't necessarily seem like crazy to suggest that's what they would have done. It doesn't, to me, at all. That's the nightmare scenario. He's going to be good no matter where he goes. So you got to, if that's your fear, get over it. It's already happened. He's going to be good. If you're worried about him having success and winning, I'm telling you, just don't worry about it. It's happening. It's going to be, that's going to happen. Now we just have to be concerned where he does it. How much does that hurt you? And here's the thing. If you trade with a team who's really, really good, who needs him like right now, plug in a gap, and he goes and wins the Super Bowl, the picks you get back aren't any good. They might sound decent because first round picks, second round picks. It's like, yeah, but like pick 20. You know what I mean? Like and so that's the problem. If he ends up back with Baker, bro, like that is the ultimate nightmare scenario for any Cleveland Browns fan and ownership and general front office, essentially. The faster way to say it. Man. Last year, you win 3 games off a playoff season. And we're saying to each other, well, it can't get worse, right? It can't get worse. And honestly, as a guy who feels and prides himself on, like, I can see it coming. And let me tell you what's going to happen next. I can see it coming. I don't know why. I thought Myles was going to finish out his contract here and then leave. I honestly did not see him requesting a trade early out. I was dead wrong on that, and will happily say it. Dead wrong on that, but it makes me suspicious that something may have happened. What happened? he's been feeling like this for a while, right? You and I have known about this team for a while. Miles literally plays there, and he's in the meetings. You know what I mean? He's known this for a while. What happened recently that made him go public? I'm so curious about that.
The Stansberry Show.
Every time I see him, I hear circus music.
On Rock 106.9.
A lot of scenarios out there for Myles Garrett after publicly requesting a trade. We talked about a few of them. I said, dude, what if he ends up in Tampa with Baker? This obviously came back. It's like, dude, what if we traded him to Tampa for Baker? Well, like, I just don't think that's a scenario that's even plausible. I don't think a team's going to do that. I just don't. Especially Tampa. Right now with what their situation is. Where, you know what I mean, where their money and their pick situation is, and they just got that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you're going to do that. I think the whole reason to go get Myles is because you think Baker's good enough if you have Myles Garrett. Ironically, the Browns didn't, right? So I don't think that's happening. I think one of the things a lot of people who like Baker, I think one of the things you like about him is that I think Baker could be out of the league now and get a call from the Browns and tell him no. And here's the thing. It's shooting yourself in the foot, dumbassery, but I kind of do love that. Like, he is that guy. And it can be a likable thing. It's more likable when it's not affecting your franchise, right? Like, it is, you know, somebody said to me, ironically, you know, did Myles go into the front office looking to find an adult in the room and didn't see one? And requested a trade, right? Because that was their whole thing. We wanted an adult in the room. And Baker was a little childish and all that. But saying that and then going out and courting who you did court is a little crazy. And again, my record's clear here. Like, I was like, dude, it's Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson in division to try to get better at the positions, not crazy. Who they tried to do it with was a mistake. Nobody's going to try to deny that. And what I should say now, and people have asked me about this, is like, you know, I got what you were saying if we were talking about a team who's shown me over the last 25 years that they're smart, they're buttoned up, they know what they're doing. This is what, I guess what people are asking me to file this under is, it's not what got done, it's who did it. And that the hubris of the Browns to think that they were the team who could do that, you know, I don't see it. I honestly, like I said, I think Baker could be 2 years out of the league desperate. Crazy, because there's already been rumors before the Myles thing that the Browns and Raiders could look to do something. Right? The Raiders have the 6th pick, the Browns have the 2nd. Now all of a sudden you hire Pete Carroll, defensive-minded head coach. He's now looking like, whoa, geez, would you look at that? I would like to have Myles Garrett, since I have to face Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes twice a year apiece. Oh, and by the way, it looks like this Bo Nix kid might be good too. So I need a quarterback disruptor. We have the 6th pick. You want to trade out of this. So I might end up with Myles Garrett and Shedeur Sanders, which is what Myles wanted, right? That's not what. Because like I said, there was plenty of talk about the fact that the Browns and Raiders could be swapping picks before the Myles Garrett situation. And you're right. I think Pete Carroll makes the Raiders very interesting. I want to see how that works. I don't know it will. I think it's good for the league if, like, the bad boy Raiders team, if they're good, I think that's good for the league. I do. So I'm kind of hoping on that a little bit. Chip Kelly, now their offensive coordinator. I got to tell you, I don't think I hate that either. Now, some NFL guys don't like Chip. There was some stuff that's happened, and there were some accusations that happened, and I don't think you shake those all that easily. But we'll see what we get out there in Vegas. Ironically, I kind of root for it. My brother's like, burn the building to the ground. Hates it, right? But like, I can't stand it. He's like, Browns are nothing. That's David, right? Yeah, the Raiders is interesting. It really is. Myles, he's going to look good in that helmet. You know what I mean? I still think it's the best color scheme and helmet and logo in the entire NFL. I've thought that since I was a kid. It just feels like that to me. Not that but Pete Carroll being defensive-minded, being able to work with a quarterback like Russell Wilson when he has his defense. Look at that. What if that happens? Russell Wilson, Myles Garrett, and you know what I mean? They get a decent pick. In 2 or 6 out of this draft, the Raiders. Next thing you know, Pete Carroll, dude, that division could be hot. That could be hot next year. Hot. Like I said, if Bo Nix really pops, good God. Like, good God. That's going to be nuts. Yeah, Miles to the Raiders isn't nuts. That's not. That's pretty good. I like the Bears, kind of, but, like, the Raiders makes a lot of sense. I'd rather see him get moved to an NFC team. That's what I'm basing that on. But if you're going to move him in the AFC West to where he's bothering Patrick Mahomes versus bothering you all year, that's about the best case scenario. Raiders over Bucks. I'll say that. Yeah, absolutely. Give him to Pete Carroll before you give him to Baker Mayfield. Dude, I honestly... Myles Garrett to Tampa, the only thing that does is bring alcoholism back into style.
The Stansberry Show
I just wish I hadn't drunk all that cough syrup.
on Rock 106.9.
Welcome back to the program. You can find me on your socials, The Stansberry Show.